Hello and welcome back to another video. This is Jennifer McGuire. I'm sorry I haven't had a video in a while. We got a new puppy and man, puppies are a lot of work for that first week. So anyways, I'm back today with a technique that is one of my favorites. This is such a fun thing to do. I call it a split card technique. Basically, you're going to create one piece and then cut it in half, which gives you two cards with a fun border. This works really well with any large stamped image or large die cut. I'm going to start with showing how to create a floral die cut border by using stamps and then also by die cuts. Then later in the video, I'll show you how to use this technique for one layer cards. Okay, let's get started with my first set of cards that have the floral border. Now, I did make a lot of cards again today, but you could definitely do this for 2 cards at a time if you wanted. Okay, I'll be using this new Altenew stamp set. It has very easy to layer flowers and leaves. There's 2 different flowers and 2 different leaves. And then also different sentiments you can build up with the word you, such as just sitting here thinking of you, sending the biggest hugs to you, and so on. Here's the layering guide that comes with the stamp set, along with a few different ideas for using the sets. You can see how you can do different kind of floral clusters, different color combinations to get different looks. I'm going to hold up the different color combinations that I use in today's video. You can do a screenshot here if you want to write them down. They are all Altenew dye inks. I like their dye inks because they have a wide variety of colors from light, medium, dark, and extra dark, so you can easily figure out which go together to layer. I actually even mix and match different colors in my combinations between all of the colors that they have to offer. They have a ton of colors, so it's fun to stretch them and use them creatively. One of my color combinations is to create a white flower, and that's the inks that you see here. I actually didn't use those white flowers on a card today, but I will show you the results that I get. And then these are the greens that I used for the leaves. While doing the stamping for the flowers and leaves, I'm going to share with you yet another trick for doing fast, multiple stamped layered images. This is a huge time saver. Now for this, you need a stamping tool, and then you also need a piece of square cardstock. Doesn't matter what size. I did 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. I'm going to put my image in one of the corners. In this example, I'm doing the top right. You could just do this one piece, but I thought I'd go ahead and do 2 pieces at once. So I have another square piece of cardstock on the top where I'm putting a stamped image in the bottom right corner. Now I can put both of my pieces of cardstock in at once and stamp them both at once. I'm stamping with my lightest color first. This is the bottom layer of our flowers. The 2 different flowers are going to be the same colors, so I might as well stamp them at the same time to save time. After I've stamped them, I rotate my papers 1 turn. So watch, I'm going to take off the magnet, rotate each paper 1 turn, and stamp again. And I'll repeat this until I've stamped on all 4 corners on the 2 pieces. You can see how this is much faster than doing them individually. This is very helpful if you need multiple images of the same for a card or for mass-producing cards. Okay, so now I have a new piece of white square at the top and the bottom, and I've switched to my yellows. So again, I'm doing these flowers 4 times with the lightest color since it's the bottom layer of our stamped layered flowers. Okay, I did this with the other color combinations, the lightest layer of stamping, and now it's time to go back and do the second layer. So I'm going to line them up on the bottom and on the top piece. These are very easy to line up because you're lining up the outline of it. Now I'm coming in with my second darkest color, so this is just slightly darker than the last one. I stamp it, rotate it, stamp it, and rotate it until I have all 4 images stamped with the layer. And of course, I'll do this with the other colors too. Now I do want to show you the white color combination. When I do white layered flowers, I skip the first layer. So this is fresh white cardstock here. I didn't stamp the first layer. I'm skipping ahead to the second layer, and I do this in a light gray. This is Morning Frost, which actually will lighten as it dries. So the first layer is non-existent, so we have white showing through. Then we have this light gray. Then I'll go on with a third layer of a little bit darker gray, and that will form a beautiful white flower. Okay, so now I'm back with my third layer for each of the flowers, and I'll continue this with all the layers. You can see how this trick of using the square paper and turning it is really fast for stamp layering, but it can be done with any stamps. Say you want to stamp a balloon a bunch of times. You could do this technique too. Okay, so here is that next darkest layer of gray in what will turn out to be a white flower. Again, these colors will soften and it'll give a great look of white, which I'll show you in a bit. So I continue to do all of the layers of the flowers, and then it's time to do leaves. This time I have another piece of white cardstock that's 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, and I put down 2 leaves in a corner, so I could do 2 at once. Look how fast it is to create all of these leaves. If you wanted to use a bigger piece of cardstock that's cut to a square size, that's fine, and it'll even allow you to stamp more in a corner or a bigger image. Now I'm coming in with the second layer of the leaves. So I continued all the stamping till my leaves and flowers were done, and then I cut them out. Now it's time to do the split card trick. For this, you need a piece of white cardstock that is 8 1/2 inches wide by 5 1/2 inches. And I drew a line directly down the center of it. So if I folded this, I would have a note card, but I'm not going to fold it. I just have a pencil line there. Now I'm putting glue on the back of my flowers, and I'm going to arrange them over that pencil line. You want the images to kind of straddle the pencil line. You want an even amount kind of on each side. So don't put them all to the right or to the left. Try to stay on top of that pencil line. The more you overlap, the better, because it makes it look more full. I'm using Altenew adhesive and putting some on the back of the flower and then tucking them in underneath each other. This adhesive allows you to lift and change your position, and then it'll dry permanent. If you want, later you can go and put more adhesive behind the pieces. Okay, so once I have all of my flowers in place, I'm going to go ahead and cut this in half. This is the split card trick. I'm going to take my trimmer and I'm going to cut where that pencil line is, which I know is at 4 1/4 inches, and I'm cutting right down the center of my flowers. Now I have 2 card panels with a floral border. All I need to do is add some leaves here and there to make the border a little bit bigger. Then I can trim anything that's hanging off the edge, and we have 2 card panels from that one piece. This is an excellent way to make 2 cards at once and stretch your large images to get a different look. I really like the look of a floral border, so this was great for me. Let's do another one. This time I'm using my purple flowers. I'm again gluing them right down a pencil line that I put halfway through this paper. Again, it is 8 1/2 inches wide, 5 1/2 inches tall, and I'm cutting it in half at the 4 1/4 mark. Now for this one, I decided to make the card panel on the right a little more full towards the bottom, so I just went and added some more flowers and leaves to that, so it kind of cascades down towards the other corner. So you can add to it after you've cut your borders in half, or you can leave it as a simple border. Here's a look at all of the different card panels that I got from the flowers that I created. For some of them, I mixed different color flowers together. For others, I just kept with one color. You really could do this with a lot of different images. I think it would be fun with different size large stars or balloons, or you could do ornaments. Really, the sky is the limit with this, and it's a great way to use large images to make 2 cards at once. By the way, here are the white flowers that I did. I didn't use them on a card, but I'm going to save them. I wanted to show you that using those gray inks and skipping the first layer of ink is a great way to get the look of a white flower. Next, let's turn these different card panels into cards. For some of these, I used the Altenew Mega Brush Alpha stamp set. This is a new large stamp set with really large hand-lettered looking letters, and it is fantastic. Such a unique look to it. Now, what I like about it is there's a double T, so if you do a word such as "you matter to me," you could have a unique look, or a double L for hello. I like the personalized look of this. It looks like it's hand done, and you could make the card with somebody's name or personalize a greeting. I'm using hugs and hello today because these are going to essential workers that I'm making cards for, and I thought that would be good. So they're great and easy to line up. I just like to overlap the end of one letter with the beginning of the next letter. Here I'm quickly stamping hugs along 3 of my panels. Now you'll notice that my letters will overlap with the leaves and the flowers, but that's okay. You can see how there's that little white outline where it doesn't stamp right up to the die cut. I just went ahead and used a black pen to fill that in so that the sentiment stretches out over those die cuts. Another trick that I wanted to show you is that on some of my card panels, I put that black thin cardstock strip along the flowers. To do this, I used my T-ruler to make sure I had a straight edge. Then I ran my Gina K Connect liquid adhesive right along the edge of the T-ruler. I kept the T-ruler there, and then I took my black cardstock strip and lined it right up against the edge of the T-ruler again. And that way I can be sure my adhesive is straight and my cardstock strip is straight. That just gives a nice finished look to that edge. Sometimes little touches like that make a big difference. Okay, let's go ahead and look at all the cards, but first I wanted to show you some of the sentiments that I used. This is the new Altenew Delicate Bouquet stamp set, and I used the sentiment that says, "Thinking of you during this trying time." There are different sentiments that you can build up with this set, and it has that beautiful sketch flower. On several of my cards today, I also used the Altenew Inked Lotus stamp set. I really like the style of these sentiments, so I used them a few times. Okay, so let's look at all the completed cards. So here you can see how if you put the two cards next to each other, you have a continuous pattern of those die cuts, but I cut them in half to create two cards at once. The card on the right has the sentiment from the Delicate Bouquet stamp set that I just showed you. And the card on the left has the hugs that we stamped with the letter set, and then also You Are Inspiring underneath it from the Altenew Morning Glory stamp set. I like to look through my stamp sets for small sentiments like that. Okay, next up are these two cards. You can see how it was a continuous piece that I cut in half. On one of the cards, I put the border on the bottom, and on the other card, I put the border on the side. In both cases, I added a thin black cardstock strip, which I just feel ties in with the black sentiment and adds a little bit of contrast. And by the way, on all of my card panels, I used various gems and pearls from Lucy's cards just for a little accent. Okay, here are my two blue border pieces, so you can see how they were connected, and then when I cut them apart, I ended up with the two different cards. You can see also how the hugs overlaps with the leaves and the flowers to give kind of a continuous look. After doing all of these cards and changing the design a little bit between each, I think the card here is my favorite with that little bit of white that I have on the edge and a black cardstock strip. Next up, we have our two pink panels. You can see how they were once connected there. And we have the border on each card along with the script alphabet words. On this hello one, I stamped "Just sending a note and a smile to you today" from this Altenew Dahlia Blossom stamp set. Now I will tell you, I just go through my stamp set looking for little greetings, so that's why you see me use a lot of different ones. And here is my last example where I used some of my leftover flowers. Okay, next I wanted to show you how you can use the split card trick with die cuts. So I was really excited to use a new layering die from Altenew. I believe this is a new subscription where each month they have a new die set that creates something layered and fun. You can also buy it individually. This is the Altenew Craft a Flower Lily die set. So it cuts all the different pieces that you need to create a layered flower. Off screen, I die cut the different dies from different colors of like a peach cardstock, and I'm glued them together with liquid adhesive. Sorry, my computer's in the screen. I was in a Zoom meeting and doing a little crafting at the same time. So after gluing these together, I get a really fun, realistic, layered looking paper lily. So I did this 3 times. So I had 3 lilies of the same color. You could mix and match if you want. Also included in the die set are 2 different leaves, and I did layering with that too. I have a piece of white cardstock that is 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and I did a pencil line right down the center at 4 1/4. I'm gluing my layered lilies right along that pencil line. Once I have them glued in place, I'll cut them right in half at the 4 1/4 inch mark. There we have 2 panels now that we can use with lily borders. All I need to do is tuck some leaves here and there, and it allows us to fill in that border and make it look a little more full. Once I'm happy with it, I can flip it over and cut off any of the excess, and we end up with 2 card panels that we created from that one arrangement right down the center. It's a fun trick to do with both stamps and die cuts. For the sentiment on this one, I used the Altenew Hello and Hugs die set. I die cut the shadow for the word from white cardstock and the word hello itself from black cardstock and glued that onto the panel. I did trim my panels down a bit and add them onto soft gray note cards that end up being 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I was really excited by this design and wish I had made more, so I plan to go later and make more like this using a bunch of different layered flowers together. Okay, my next set of cards features a split card technique that's a little bit different. This allows you to create one layer cards if you wanted. Now this is a little more advanced and it takes a little more thinking, but once you get the hang of it, it's really fun to do. This is the new Altenew Blossom Wreath stamp set. Such a beautiful set that creates a beautiful wreath. Well, I wanted to stretch that by using it to create borders. So that's what the wreath would look like if you just stamped as is. But we're going to do the split card technique to make borders. So I have a piece of white cardstock that is 8 1/2 by 5 1/2, and I'm putting a pencil line down the middle at 4 1/4. Then I'll put a pencil line down the middle in the other direction at 2 3/4. So basically I just drew a pencil line at the center in both directions. Now I'm putting this piece into my MISTI stamping tool, and I'm taking the outline of the wreath and positioning it in the center along that vertical pencil line and above the horizontal pencil line. So I'll be able to stamp it just right there in the top center. I'm stamping this with Altenew Obsidian black ink, which is a pigment ink, which you'll see I was in a hurry and I got very messy, but it is a great dark black ink. Now, again, I want to make a bunch of cards at once, so I'm going to stamp this on several pieces that are all 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. By the way, I flipped my panel over before so the pencil lines were on the back and I wouldn't have to erase them. So there we have the start to our stamping. Now you could skip this step if you want, but I'm putting little hash marks on the back of the wreath. I did 1 hash mark on the first one, 2 on the second, and so on, so I knew which ones matched up together. You don't have to do this, but I wasn't really sure where my design was going at this point, so I did it in case. Okay, now I'm cutting each of those panels in half. So I'm cutting at the 4 1/4 inch mark. And what we'll end up with is 2 panels that are each 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 for each of the larger panels that we started with. Now I'm taking one of the pairs and I'm putting it back into my MISTI stamping tool, but I'm rotating the panels. So the half of wreaths are at the top and the bottom. And then I'll stamp my wreath again, but this will be on the other side. So you can see how by doing this technique, by putting both the pieces in at once, I'm able to stamp these borders faster. So now I can go to my next pair of panels and I'll make it so the wreaths are in the other spot, the top and the bottom. Use my magnet to make sure they don't shift. And then I will ink up the wreath again and stamp it again. That image will be split between the 2 panels. I'll continue to do this with the other panels too. Once that's done, it's time to add yet another wreath. So I'm putting them back in, making sure that one of the corners that doesn't have a wreath is there in the center right. I hold the magnet in place to make sure that these pieces don't shift. And then I'm going to put my wreath down again. I had removed my wreath, which I didn't need to have done. I could have left it there. I probably should have. So just leave it in the same place throughout all of the stamping. So I'll stamp my wreath there, and then I rotate my panels for that last open corner. So I'm putting the 2 open corners there in the middle right. Then I'll put my magnet to hold them in place and stamp the wreath again. And now we have a wreath border on both of our card panels. I'll repeat this with the other pairs of panels that we have. Okay, now for the fun part, we're going to add some color to this because this is a layering stamp set. You could just add color with markers if you wanted. So I'm going back to my pairs and I'm putting right up against each other in the bottom corner of the MISTI. And I'm coming in with our first layer. This will do the little flowers that I plan to do in yellow. I use the layering guide to get the positioning just right. I'll close the door on my MISTI and now we can start stamping. I used the Warm Sunshine, which is like an orangish yellow from Altenew, one of the colors that I reach for the most. I stamped that and now I'm rotating to the other corners and I'll stamp it again. And I'll keep rotating until I have all of the corners stamped with that yellow ink. I will then do the same thing with the other pair of panels. So think about it. You're going to save a lot of time creating all of these wreath borders on all the different panels by doing the split card trick. To save time, I'm going to just kind of skip through the rest of this because we're repeating the process with the different layering. So here, this one, I lined up the leaves and I'm stamping that with the the parrot ink, which is a nice green color. Then I can rotate the corners and stamp the parrot ink again. You just continue to do the layers, stamping each, rotating until all the wreaths are covered. Here I'm coming in with Coral Berry for the last bit of color. I like the Coral Berry ink color so much, especially with this parrot ink and the Sunshine ink. It's a nice, cheerful color. You may have noticed I got quite a few fingerprints on these different panels. To remove those fingerprints, I either use one of two tools. For light fingerprints, I use the Creative Detailer tool, which you see here, or the Mono Sand Eraser for heavier fingerprint inks or marks. So both will save the day and keep you from having to start over. While doing this, I decided I want a little bit at the top and the bottom of this panel. So I stopped what I was doing and decided to stamp the wreath towards the top and the bottom just to fill in that area. You could skip this if you wanted, but I felt like it helped to frame the card as opposed to just having the two borders. So I stamp it on the top, then I rotate it and stamp it on the bottom. I first do the black ink and then I added the layers for the green, yellow, and red. After doing this, I decided I wanted to add a little more color to the background. So I went in with my Copic markers. Any markers would work for this. And I just added quick marks of orange color to the yellow flowers. And then I added a bunch of little red dots to the base of the red flowers. So see how I'm just doing this very quickly. With a sketchy image like this, that's great because you can do this quickly and it doesn't have to be colored in the lines. It can be imperfect. So after doing that to all of the panels, I trimmed the panels a bit and added them to black note cards that are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I did put a white cardstock insert on the inside so I can write a personal message there. For this particular card, I added a hello die cut, the same one I used before, and a few yellow gemstones here and there. Now you could also keep this a one-layer card. I decided to put it on a black note card, but this technique works great for one layer. For these two, I have, once again, black note cards, and I did the sentiment with black in the center. On these, I skipped the gemstones and instead did little dots of red here and there with my Copic marker. By the way, those sentiments are from the inked Lotus stamp set that I showed you earlier. Now for this particular example, I used the new Stamping Village Thinking of You stamp set. This stamp set has images from many different companies such as Altenew, and it's meant to make cards for encouragement and thanks during this time. And I stamped one of them there in the center of the card that says, "We appreciate you." By the way, $5 from each of those stamp sets goes to the Save the Children Foundation. Another nice thing about making a bunch of cards with this split card design is that you can change up the sentiment in the center and get a different look. Here I used a greeting from this new Altenew stamp set. I like that this stamp set has a floral border frame that you can quickly make a card and then add the different sentiments on the inside. But I decided to make my own border with that Wreath stamp set and then add the greeting in the center. And then finally, this example, I used the Altenew Shine Like a Diamond stamp set. You can build up different greetings that have the word shine, and I thought it fit nicely in the center of our card. So there you have it, 3 different ways to use the split card trick to create multiple cards at once. It's another way to stretch those large images you have to get different looks. If you are interested in the particular products that I use, I do link them below in my YouTube description. And also here in the middle, I have a couple other similar technique videos that you might want to check out. Thanks so much for spending this time with me. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy, and I'll see you again soon for another video.